I currently work at the European Court of Auditors in Luxembourg in the area of communication.
I work for the Council as their online communication officer.
I work for the communication unit of Directorate General Human Resources and Security of the European Commission.
I basically advise the Director General for Communication in online strategy. So it means how to adapt all our communication products and our services to the new digital environment.
I deal mainly with the internal newspaper, that is Commissione Direct. I write articles, also work on a supplement that contains more human resources news.
We're dealing with press, we're dealing with external, internal communication, we're trying to advertise the products that our auditors are producing.
I studied political science and international relations, and I also had an interest in anthropology. But when I started working, I started working in the communications field.
I studied communication in Italy.
I've studied languages, I've studied literatures, I've studied sociology. Communication was a part of that.
I started working as a journalist, more or less based in Brussels, but also I traveled around Europe.
I have started in the EU as a translator in the Slovenian language section of the European Court of Auditors. And I have later on moved to communication, to Director of the Presidency, where I still work. The degree of urgency that is inherent for communication. Whenever I come to work, whatever plans I have made before, there's always something that just comes in between, that cuts in and that needs to be dealt with a degree of urgency.
My job position is really interesting because you can make contact with a lot of different colleagues from different services. You talk about their job, their work experience, also about their experience outside the job. In fact, in the newspaper we give a lot of space about personal experience, like in volunteering, traveling, or whatever kind of interesting initiative.
There are two really exciting parts about my job. The first one is that I work cross DGs, or I work across the board of the activities of the institution. So I really have a good understanding of actually what the institution is providing and doing. And the second part is that because I'm working on processes, strategies and systems, I have the impression, I hope it's true, but I have the impression that I can really contribute to change. Most of the work is done in English, but my director is French, so we interact a lot in French as well. And I'm working on my Spanish, so that's really good. And I would also like to take some non-EU language to expand the scope of where I can find actually relevant information for EU institutions.
The European institutions encourage multilingualism, which means that people working for the European institutions are encouraged to take part in language trainings. And myself, I have taken part in several of them. I've started French from scratch when I came to Luxembourg. I had no knowledge of it before, and later on I started learning Italian, and I'm now finishing that class, and I'm thinking of refreshing my German and Dutch.
The language component is so prominent because of the official languages being 23, whereas in most intergovernmental organizations, UN, for example, only has 6. So that creates a big complexity in terms of information flows. And since I work in communication and information, for us it's an additional constraint that we always need to factor in.
The best way to keep one's skills up to date is to attend trainings. I think one should never skip on that. So in my current job, I do a lot of communication trainings, trainings on public administration, on functioning in the international environment, and with different languages, of course.
I just came out of a training that was over the last 3 days, which was the introduction basically to working for the EU, and that was extremely helpful because there were people from different institutions, and it was very interesting to hear how other newcomers were experiencing their entry into the EU environment. And in general, I think that trainings really, really help in getting a good grasp of how the EU institutions work.
I had a training in internal communication, and that, of course, is the core business of my unit. And I'm going to have quite soon a training on video making.
I actually have a liking for the advisor position, which I'd like to explore more. And one of the options would be to join the cabinet of a commissioner, which is kind of the political office of a commissioner, or it could be also to continue in a more strategic role at institutional level, or also to join a delegation abroad, for example.
I think that in these times it's very difficult to foresee one's future, but I'm very happy and I consider myself lucky to be working for the EU institutions and for the European Court of Auditors in specific. And the European institutions offer a very interesting career path, and if you set your goals, you can also set your vision to achieve them. Go for it, and if at first you don't succeed in one of the EPSA competitions, do not give up. It's a very rewarding career path that is waiting for you. There are a lot of opportunities for continued learning and personal development, and I'm certainly very happy and I consider myself lucky that I've been working in the European institutions so far.